The Federation flagship hung wounded in space, crystal parasites devouring its hull like a cancer. Jagged crystalline spears had skewered the command deck, their surfaces catching starlight in cruel, mocking sparkles. The proud vessel that once led the fleet now resembled a violated corpse, its dignity stripped away as the alien crystals consumed it from within. Escape pods fled from the dying Leviathan, tiny, frightened creatures abandoning a sinking giant. Some pods vanished in silent flashes as silicate weapons found them, transforming them into drifting tombs of light and shadow. A Federation cruiser moved to shield the escaping pods, its captain's last act of defiance before crystal projectiles bloomed across its port side, hungry roots spreading beneath its armor. Lieutenant Greg Stone watched Commander Krill's appendages tremble against the controls and fought the urge to push the Vesperian aside. His heart hammered in his chest, each beat a protest against their inaction. Sweat ran cold down his spine. His hand clenched and unclenched at his side, calluses from years of tactical training rubbing against his palm. The comms channel filled with death, officers calling for help, cut off mid-sentence, automated distress beacons activating, and then going silent. Stone's jaw ached from grinding his teeth as he watched more Federation vessels bloom with crystal formations. He tasted copper where he'd bitten the inside of his cheek. "Orders, sir?" Stone's voice came out hoarser than intended. Krill didn't respond, his compound eyes fixed on the destruction before them, antennae quivering with what Stone recognized as fear. The moment stretched between them, filled with the sounds of battle and death. Stone knew with bone-deep certainty that humanity's moment had finally arrived, not with a declaration, but with desperation. Stone's mind flashed back to just hours earlier. His fingers had flown across the logistics terminal, redistributing supply routes as Federation warships adjusted their defensive formation. Through the panoramic viewport of the Tenacity, he'd watched the gleaming hulls of combat vessels, their crystalline propulsion systems pulsing with energy as they maneuvered. His own vessel, a utilitarian supply ship, maintained a safe distance behind the military cordon. "Shipment rerouted to the Indomitable, sir," Stone had reported, not bothering to look up at Commander Krill. He'd known the Vesperian officer wouldn't acknowledge him. 6 chitinous appendages manipulated controls designed for Krill's species. The collective requires supply channels to priority vessels only. Krill ordered, compound eyes never shifting towards Stone. "Reserve capacity for potential casualties." Stone stifled a sigh, feeling the old weight where his tactical officer insignia had once rested. 2 years serving in the Galactic Federation, and humans were still listed as Class 4 auxiliaries, treated like well-trained pets. Earth had been welcomed for its resources, not its people. Their limited physical parameters, as Federation classification documents delicately put it, made them perfect for support roles. At least in the Federation's estimation, what they didn't understand was what those limitations had taught humanity. "Sir," Stone said, studying the tactical display with the instincts from 15 years as an Earth tactical officer, silicate formations show unusual movement patterns along Sector 7. "Pincer setup forming, like the Battle of Gazala. We should alert." "The tactical division monitors the situation," Krill interrupted. "Focus on your assigned duties, Lieutenant. Federation combat specialists surpass individual human military knowledge." Stone's jaw tightened. The collective wisdom is about to receive a harsh lesson, he thought. The ship shuddered suddenly. Warning klaxons blared throughout the vessel, the high-pitched wail cutting through Stone's memories and pulling him back to the present crisis. "Multiple hyperspace signatures," called the Tellurian sensor officer, fear rippling through the phosphorescent patterns on their skin. "Silicate battle group emerging, configuration unknown." The tactical display erupted with new contacts. The Silicate Empire ships, angular crystalline structures that reflected the starlight in fractured patterns, deployed in a formation Stone had never seen in Federation records, but recognized immediately from Earth's history. "They're executing a flanking maneuver," Stone muttered. "Classic hammer and anvil. Hannibal would be proud." "What is this handball?" questioned the Tellurian, confusion evident. Someone who knew how to win when outnumbered, Stone replied grimly. The main Federation battle line was already engaged with the primary Silicate force when suddenly the new battle group struck from the opposite vector. Federation ships, caught in the crossfire, began taking heavy damage. Through the viewport, Stone watched as Silicate vessels fired luminous projectiles, crystal shards that, upon impact, grew rapidly through Federation ships, puncturing hulls and systems alike. The scream of tearing metal echoed through the Tenacity's hull, bringing with it the acrid smell of overloaded circuitry. New weapons technology, Krill said, mandibles clicking in agitation. The collective is threatened. Alert Admiral Vexlar. All non-combat vessels fall back to secondary positions. Stone's eyes narrowed as he examined the tactical display. The Silicates had positioned themselves perfectly, exploiting gaps in the Federation formation that should have been obvious to any competent tactician. It reminded him of the simulation he'd run during his first week aboard, the one Krill had dismissed as irrelevant human overthinking. The command channel erupted with static, then panicked reports. Admiral Vexlar's ship has been breached, crystal structures growing throughout command deck, flagship navigation compromised. The collective leadership no longer responds. The massive Federation flagship listed in space, crystal formations jutting from its hull like a grotesque sculpture. Stone watched as Krill's appendages trembled slightly against the controls. "Commander?" Stone said carefully, "With the command structure compromised, we need to coordinate a counteroffensive immediately." Krill's head swiveled toward him. "The Harmless ones will maintain position and await orders from surviving command ships." Stone bristled at the familiar slur. "Class 4 auxiliaries. The Harmless ones?" That's what they called humans behind their backs. "There won't be any surviving command ships if we don't act now," Stone insisted, recalling the countless tactical strategies he'd seen ignored during training exercises. "I have combat experience. I can help." "You are a human," Krill said, the universal translator unable to mask the contempt. "Your species barely managed interplanetary travel before we found you. The collective does not require your input. Return to your station." Stone's patience evaporated as another Federation cruiser exploded in a shower of debris and crystalline fragments. The force of the blast rippled through him. "Computer, Federation Emergency Protocol 19A, Stone announced clearly. "In the event of command structure collapse, chain of command defaults to highest ranking officer present. Confirm Commander Krill as acting fleet commander." The computer chimed. "Confirmed." Commander Krill designated acting fleet commander. Krill's compound eyes widened. "What are you doing, Lieutenant?" "Saving what's left of the fleet," Stone replied. "Computer, note for record. Acting Commander Krill is exhibiting signs of combat shock and decision paralysis. Under Federation Health Regulation 42C, command temporarily transfers to next officer until medical clearance." The computer paused, then, "Medical assessment required for confirmation." Stone turned to the Tellurian medical officer who had been monitoring crew vitals during the battle. The green-skinned officer looked between Stone and Krill, noting the commander's trembling appendages and erratic eye movements. "The collective health of the command structure requires stability," the Tellurian confirmed reluctantly. "Physiological stress indicators beyond operational parameters. Transfer confirmed," the computer announced. Lieutenant Stone granted temporary command authority. Krill hissed but didn't contest the decision, a testament to just how overwhelmed the commander truly was. Stone immediately accessed the tactical systems. "This is Lieutenant Stone of the Tenacity to all Federation vessels. Admiral Vexlar and command staff are down. I am coordinating defensive operations." Silence greeted him initially. Then, "This is Captain Zeth of the Swift Messenger. By what authority do you issue commands, Harmless One?" The Navalan's voice carried the characteristic musical undertones of his species, though the derogatory term stripped away any beauty from the sound. "By the authority of whoever wants to survive the next 10 minutes, Stone replied sharply. "Captain, your scout vessel has the highest maneuverability in the remaining fleet. I need you to relay targeting data to these coordinates. There was a pause. Acknowledged. Tenacity. Relaying. Stone's fingers danced across the tactical display. All supply vessels. Purge your cargo holds and prepare for high-speed maneuvers. Supply vessels are not built for combat maneuvers, protested a Callidian captain. They aren't built for escaping this trap either, Stone countered. Follow my lead or be destroyed. Your choice, but remember, even harmless ones know how to bite when cornered. On the tactical display, Stone mapped out positions, drawing from Earth's military history. The Silicate's trap mirrored ancient battles, particularly Cannae, where Hannibal had enveloped Roman forces. The Federation never imagined their superior forces could lose. All combat vessels, concentrate fire on these coordinates, Stone ordered, highlighting critical junctions in the Silicate formation. Supply Group Alpha, vector to heading 329 Mark 47. Beta Group, heading 201 Mark 112. Lieutenant, Captain Zeth commed privately, you're positioning supply ships as a counter-envelopment force. This is not conventional. The Silicates are ignoring non-combat vessels, Stone explained, wiping sweat from his brow as the Tenacity rocked from a nearby explosion. They don't consider them threats. They don't consider us threats. We'll prove them wrong. Your scout ship will coordinate their fire. Understood, Zeth replied, a new respect evident in his voice. Perhaps there is wisdom outside the collective. Stone watched as the remnants of the Federation fleet began to move with purpose. All vessels prepare to execute on my mark. 3, 2, 1, execute! The lumbering supply ships, stripped of their cargo, suddenly accelerated beyond their usual capacity. The Silicate forces, focused on destroying military targets, failed to react as the supply vessels curved around the battlefield. Now, Stone ordered, the supply ships activated cargo deployment systems designed for releasing supply pods and instead launched debris directly into the path of Silicate vessels. The crystalline ships, their shields calibrated for energy weapons, were peppered with physical impacts that disrupted their formation. Simultaneously, the remaining Federation warships concentrated fire on the weak points Stone had identified. Swift messenger to all supply vessels, Captain Zeth called. Target these coordinates with all available deployment systems. The impromptu attack caught the Silicates completely off guard. Their perfect formation shattered as they tried to reorient against threats coming from unexpected vectors. They're breaking formation, Stone announced with a nod of satisfaction. Combat Group Charlie, push through that gap. Supply vessels continue harassment patterns. Split their line, just like Trafalgar. Through the viewport, Stone watched as the tide of battle shifted. Federation warships, now fighting with coordinated purpose, began to push back against the Silicates. Supply vessels darted between larger ships, releasing clouds of debris that fouled Silicate sensor arrays and disrupted their crystal weapons. They're retreating, reported Captain Zeth as the Silicate vessels began to disengage. Lieutenant, the flagship is attempting to jump to hyperspace. All vessels with functional weapons target their drive systems, Stone ordered. Don't let them take that new weapon technology back to their lines. Federation beams lanced across space, striking the Silicate flagship's propulsion crystals. The enormous vessel shuddered, then detonated in a spectacular crystalline explosion that sent shards tumbling through the void. The remaining Silicate vessels accelerated away. Jumping to hyperspace in staggered retreat, silence fell over the command channel, broken only by damage reports and casualty counts. Lieutenant, Captain Zeth's voice came through, uncharacteristically subdued for a Novalan. Where did you learn those maneuvers? Stone exhaled slowly, the adrenaline beginning to fade. Earth history. We've been fighting each other for thousands of years. Fighting? Your own species? Krill had regained some composure, an undertone of reluctant curiosity in his voice. We didn't have anyone else to fight until recently, Stone replied. When you spend millennia trying to outwit opponents with the same physical limitations as yourself, you learn to value strategy over strength. 3 days later, Stone stood before the emergency session of the Federation Grand Council. The circular chamber was filled with representatives from dozens of species. Their murmured conversations, creating a cacophony of sounds until Grand Councilor Telex raised a membranous hand for silence. Lieutenant Greg Stone. Telex's translated voice resonated through the chamber. You assumed command during the Battle of Sector 7119 without proper authorization. Stone stood at attention, feeling the eyes of the Federation's elite upon him, the first human many had bothered to notice. With respect, Counselor, I followed Federation emergency protocols to the letter. Indeed, Telex acknowledged, your creative interpretation of those protocols has been noted, as has the outcome of your actions. Holographic displays activated, showing the battle from multiple angles. The Council watched as Stone's improvised strategy unfolded, turning certain defeat into victory. What I find most curious, Telex continued, is how a species with such physical limitations develops such effective combat strategies. Stone met the Councilor's gaze. It's because of those limitations, not despite them. When you become the harmless ones, when you're weaker, slower, more fragile, you think differently. You adapt. You strategize. You transform disadvantages into weapons. A thoughtful silence fell over the chamber. The Federation accepted Earth for its resources, Telex said finally. It appears we overlooked its most valuable asset. The Councilor rose to full height. Lieutenant Greg Stone, you are hereby promoted to Strategic Advisor to the Federation Fleet. Furthermore, we request that Earth provide additional military advisors for immediate integration into our command structure. As the chamber erupted in discussion, Stone noticed Commander Krill approaching. It seems I underestimated your species, Lieutenant. Krill's mandibles clicked in what Stone had learned was a gesture of respect. Perhaps being harmless has its advantages. Stone nodded, watching as other councillors gestured toward the handful of human representatives. After 2 years of being dismissed, humanity was finally being seen. They wanted our resources, Stone said quietly, but what they got was 10,000 years of figuring out how the weak defeat the strong. He ran a hand over his collar. The harmless ones, they call us. But history teaches us it's always the supposedly harmless ones you should watch most carefully.